We think we're being logical. We are so illogical, myself included, everyone included. But we make decisions based on emotion and justify it by logic. And business is not run through that truth.
Hmm.
Business does not take that into account, right? It thinks in very logical ways, like, in terms of customer success, this can be why we can be undervalued a lot because, if you have like a founder CEO and their product is their baby, you know, of course they're not going to think, well, we need a whole separate department to make sure people succeed with our product. You know, they wanted the product, they bought the product, we showed them how to use the product. What's the problem? Why do we need to pay more people? Right? Well, the problem is you sold it to people,
Yeah.
and people do not immediately start using what you give them. Like, how many webinars have you signed up for and never attended? Even though you're like, that sounds cool, or you got the recording and you just never watched it. How many gym memberships have I had and gone twice? Right? That's not the fault of the gym or the webinar. That's the fault of activation energy, my having other priorities. Even though I want the gym to be my priority, it may not be at this time in my life.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Customer Success Talks, Real Challenges, Experts Advice, the podcast dedicated to helping those transitioning into customer success and early career customer success managers. I'm Byron Toruño, your host for today's episode, Customer Success Manager. And just like you, I'm still learning about this amazing world of customer success. Before we start and before I make the intro of our amazing guest today, I want to remind you, everyone, or actually, it's the first time I actually say this. There's a new website, the page cstalkspodcast.com. Regarding the name, the link will be in the description of today's episode. And there you can find a little bit of how everything started, some recommendation in terms of book that I already read and thought, okay, why not recommending this? And also there's a special, beautiful section called special offers, where there you will find different coachings, different mentors, different people who wants to also help and who offer different type of services that might be aligned to what you're looking for and also where you want to improve. So just check it out. If you have any questions, just fill out the form. And I hope you like the website. And second, and also super important, today's episode, we have with us today Rachel Provan, a top 25 customer success leader, LinkedIn influencer, and coach. Rachel has over 15 years of experience in CS leadership and also coaching leaders through her Customer Success Leadership Academy program. It's not the first time that we have Rachel with us. Actually, we have already an episode recorded almost a year ago, which you can also find in the description of today's episode. But it's super interesting what we're going to talk about today because it's about psychology. And Rachel also has her own podcast, and she considers herself a customer success psychology nerd. Am I right, Rachel?
Yes, I can't legally call myself a psychologist because I'm
I
not,
know.
but I am definitely a psych nerd and have educated myself on it very thoroughly.
Rachel, why psychology? Why one day you woke up and said, I want to learn more about this?
I think that would have been when I was about 8 or 9, honestly. Because I was looking around and I was like, people are weird and they don't make sense and I don't make sense to them. I want to try and figure them out. Like what makes them do what they do? What motivates
Yeah.
them? What can I do to work with that better? And yeah, ever since I've been just fascinated, like, especially because we don't make sense. We don't make sense at all. So it's been really fun just understanding what makes people do things when you understand that it's a much more peaceful existence, when you realize so much
Mm,
of it is just almost none of it's about you.
mm,
Um, and understanding just the science of it and how evolution has shaped the way we think. And it really has to do so much with how we behave every day. We think we're being logical. We are so illogical, myself included, everyone included. But we make decisions based on emotion and justify it by logic. And business is not run through that truth.
Hmm.
Business does not take that into account, right? It thinks in very logical ways, like, in terms of customer success. This can be why we can be undervalued a lot because if you have like a founder CEO and their product is their baby, you know, of course they're not going to think, well, we need a whole separate department to make sure people succeed with our product. You know, they wanted the product, they bought the product, we showed them how to use the product. What's the problem? Why do we need to pay more people? Right? Well, the problem is you sold it to people
Yeah.
and people do not immediately uh, start using what you give them. Like, how many webinars have you signed up for and never attended? Even though you're like, that sounds cool, or you got the recording and you just never watched it. How many gym memberships have I had and gone twice, right? That's not the fault of the gym or the webinar. That's the fault of activation energy, my having other priorities, you know?
Yeah.
Even though I want the gym to be my priority, it may not be at this time in my life. Um, and when customers buy a product, they're not necessarily thinking about the work they're going to have to put in. No one
Hmm.
wants the work, they just want the result.
Yeah.
So that's why we're here, because you're dealing with humans and you need someone to deal with the messy humanness and make people reach their goals despite themselves. Because as anyone who has been a customer success manager, they don't necessarily make it easy. For people who wanted this thing, they tend to put it down on their list, not do it, not do it right. They don't necessarily prioritize it. So our job tends to be more in change management,
Hmm.
motivation, things like that, than it is happiness. Or, yes, revenue comes into it, but revenue can't come into it until you've gotten them that desired result they wanted, those outcomes. Because if they haven't, um, yeah, they're not buying any more from you. They're not buying something again. Um, and it's interesting, a lot of people hear the statistic, and as a business owner myself, you hear the statistic that uh, someone who's bought from you before is 79% more likely to buy from you again. Now, that includes retention, right? It's
Hmm.
not just like they'll buy any old thing you show them. Um, But if you think about it from a business standpoint, and this has been proven in the past, I don't have the exact study on me, so you can take my word for it or not.
Hmm.
But it has been shown in the past that that matches up with what we see. If you don't have a customer success department, you're going to have probably 20-25% churn. That's sort of the natural amount of people who just are not going to prioritize it, right? Whereas if you get a customer success team, and a good one that actually practices customer success, not just pushing new products or pushing new services, um, that number actually gets to about 95% retention typically.
Wow.
And that's a big chunk of change you're leaving on the table because they weren't just going to pay it one more time. They were going to keep paying it over and over.
You said
So
92%, right?
around 95
Wow.
on average. But
Yeah. Yeah.
that's not like the first year.
Hmm.
And that's something else I teach about a lot. But your first year of customer success is completely reactive and like herding cats and, in an organization where they're just, getting customer success on board. Now, it can still be this way several years in
Hmm.
if they haven't taken the appropriate steps in the right order, if they haven't been appropriately enabled. If you don't have the data and you don't have the headcount or the tools, you really can't move out of that reactive mode and produce the kind of result that most companies are looking for.
Hmm.
So it's definitely a balance. We have to understand what's possible in what amount of time with what enablement.
And that's the human side of things always,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because of course, I believe that having a great product is always a first step for something bigger, right?
Mhm.
Because we can have an amazing customer success manager on the other side, motivating, trying to change habits, trying to deliver those outcomes. But if the product constantly have some technical issues, it's
No.
just not gonna be the right way, right?
No, or if sales sells something we don't actually do or a
Mm,
feature that's not out yet, customer success cannot fix a broken product. It cannot fix mistakes made by other departments. And a lot of times, if we're measured on churn, a lot of mistakes other departments make ends up on our plate, ends up in our numbers.
mhm.
And that's why it's so important for us to track, to flag it early. Say, hey, in our experience, this leads to churn. I'm putting a flag on this. I'm going to try just as hard. You're going to see all my efforts, but this is at risk off the bat because you sold to a non-ideal client or,
Yeah.
you told them that this feature exists and it does not. Um, I think of it sometimes as, um, I don't know if you're aware of this, but you can actually make a lasagna in the dishwasher.
I don't believe you,
Now,
by the way.
yeah, you can. Like, look at it on YouTube or something, but you can. That said, if I am going to, if I'm looking to make a lot of lasagna, I'm going to be pissed if someone sells me a dishwasher and be like, but it makes lasagna.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, but that's not its primary purpose. So why did you tell me that? Right. So sometimes it's like, hey, technically it does work. That's sometimes what sales does because of how they are incentivized. They are not
Mhm,
incentivized any differently on
mhm,
ideal clients versus non ideal clients. There is no portion of their commission that is held back for when they renew the first year.
mhm.
Um, I have seen it be more successful when that's the case. Sales don't like it very much. Um, but s- I do think it's important to note that like they're just trying to go after their numbers, right? They're trying to do what keeps them safe, what keeps them in a job, what keeps food on their table and a roof over their head. That's all we're trying to do. It's not that they hate your customers. It's not that they don't care about you and they're trying to mess you up. Their number one priority is always going to be what they're incentivized by. So is yours. That's why you care about this, right?
100%. It's all about the way the incentives as well and where the company is
Mhm.
heading. I think that understanding how like what is our impact as a team as an individual, then we can also move the needle into common with to sales with a proposal and say, hey, this is where the company is heading, right? This is my role. This is the impact I'm delivering to this customer and to the company. This is I would love to understand your perspective as well. How are you being incentivized? What are your goals? And then let's find a middle ground here because if not, we will continue in this like rabbit hole where it's going to be a
Yeah.
circle of continuously churn coming, but it's about also like understanding. And I wanted to ask you, Rachel, let's jump more into the psychology tactical side because I
Yes.
want to I don't know where the conversation is going to take us today, but I do want to know your perspective on two areas or two
Mm,
sides of the same coin. One is the customer and the other one is us as customer success managers.
mhm.
So the question that I have for you, Rachel, is about psychological barriers. Let's start with the customer. What psychological barriers have you seen customers having
Oh my
in
God,
their
so many.
customer journey? Yeah, and how can we fix it, right?
Right. Um, and I think we may have touched on this very, very briefly last time in our
Mhm.
discussion about outcomes. Um, but the biggest, I would say the biggest thing that we're working against is that people hate change. Hate it.
Mm,
Biologically, we hate change. Our brains are wired to resist change because back when we were, cave people, your brain's entire job back then was to keep you alive, right? Now
yeah,
it's like it still thinks 90% of its job is to keep you alive. Um, so if you didn't go down the well-trodden path every day, the one, to pick your berries, like it knows you're safe there. We haven't gotten eaten yet going that way. But if you decide, oh, maybe I'm going to see if there are other berries this way, like why not? It's a new route. Maybe I'll find something new. Your brain automatically stops you to be like, hey, you don't know that that's safe. You don't know that there isn't a whole like herd of lions living there. So let's just go the way we know. Right
yeah,
now, we're not consciously thinking these things day to day, but this is how our body reacts. So instead of lions, our body is thinking, you know what? Like that old software that we had, yeah, maybe it wasn't perfect, but I haven't gotten fired using that software. You want me to use something new and I don't know what it does. I don't know how it's going to screw up. What if I screw up? What if I don't know how to use it? Right? All these things are playing way in the back of their mind, not even necessarily consciously, but that little like, I don't want to. I have other things to do. That's all playing and driving that resistance. Now, the other thing is, um, everybody has too much to do, right? You do, I do, CSMs certainly do. Your customer does too.
Mm-hmm.
They have 25 things on their plate, and they have 57 unread emails, 32 unread Slack messages. Their boss asked them to do this other thing. They have 3 projects, a customer's calling, this, that, and the other. And oh, we want them to learn a software. Where's that going to fall on the list,
Uh,
right?
yeah.
Where's it going to fall on your list? So there is something we can do about that, but that's the why. You have to realize, like, you're asking them to prioritize something, just like with sales. You're asking them to prioritize something that just is not in their best interest. And you have to find a way to make it in their best interest. So
Mm-hmm.
what I advise everyone to do, and this works whether you're talking to sales, whether you're talking to a customer, whether you're talking to your spouse, anytime you want someone to change their behavior or to do something in any way, anytime you want to influence, um, you have to sit down beforehand, before the conversation, and imagine the person listening to you, to what you've asked them, and imagine them saying, "What's in it for me? Why
Yeah.
should I care?" Right? You have to answer that question before you ever speak to them. Know the answer to that question. And sometimes it takes a bit of thinking. Sometimes, ChatGPT is a good partner in this, which we didn't have before. Um, but sometimes it takes a little thinking, like, why would they want to learn a software instead of do the project that's due in 3 days, blah, blah, blah. So what we do in that case is we look at the outcomes that your product provides, right? Usually um, it's saving time, right? Efficiency. Uh, it's saving, or it's saving money. Saving time is saving money, or
Mm-hmm.
it's making money, or if you're in the security side of things, it's increasing security. But mostly it's save money, make money type of thing. Um, and most individual contributors, like, you're probably not going to deal with a whole lot of the end users,
Yeah.
is another part of the problem. But what do they care about? Well, they care about what's going to get them promoted, right? At the end of the day, what's going to get me more money? What's going to make my job more safe, right? I always find it to be a pretty safe bet if you can, and this is something I teach. I teach people to show the impact they're having at their organization. It doesn't matter what role you're in. This is how I got promoted 5 times in 8 years. It doesn't matter what role you're in. You need to be keeping track of your accomplishments and what that translates into dollars. Um, so if I improve a process, it saves 20 minutes, big deal. But if we realize that 5 people are doing it, we're all doing it 4 times a week. That's over $16,000 by the end of the year because I, took 20 minutes off a process. So people think like, I don't even know what what I would be doing that's saving money. You are. You just have to look at it a little differently. So whether it's the person, the sort of point person on the account that you're talking to, why is this going to make them look good?
Yeah.
Right? If they implement this, how much time are they going to save? And how much money is that going to transfer into when you look at the man hours, the person hours on it, right? All of a sudden that starts to be beneficial to them,
Yeah.
right? I mean, how much are you really going to show that, oh, I completed a project? How much is that going to count for you? You're going to be able to say, hey, I saved the company this much money by doing that. That looks good to your boss. It looks good to their boss. It looks good all along the line. So, and again, it's the same thing with the end users. This is going to make you get your work done faster. That's going to make you look more productive. That's going to make you, more in line for a promotion than someone else. So you can't think about your end goals. You have to think about like even the outcomes. Like the outcomes are really, does this make me safer? Does this make me richer?
Yeah.
Um, if you answer how those outcomes work, you'll be much more effective than trying to measure, you know, how many widgets something is making, right? Because at the end of the day, like they only care if it affects them.
This is super interesting, Rachel. As I hear you talk, I'm going through some scenarios that I have had this week where I was like, I think I fucked up, or maybe not fucked up, but I could have done it better, right? And thanks to that, I was able to realize that sometimes I'm focused on the features without even asking about what what's in it for them.
Yeah.
Because the features are just features, but what a feature means to them. What is the value that that functionality is going to bring to them? Is it going to be that it's going to be more efficiency, and then that translates into hours saved, which is, like you said, money? So that made me think into, okay, when I make a call, in this case I work with hotels and revenue managers and sometimes front desk managers, and for some reason I do not have their contact, so I give a call and ask, am I actually introducing myself first correctly and then asking the right questions towards, do you have the time to talk right now? How much time? And have you even used the platform? Because I used to jump into assumptions. And with the assumptions, all I'm thinking is about potential conspiracy theories.
Yeah. You got to lead with like, here's, is now a good time? Here's why you might want to talk to me. Like, is now a good time or later? But lead with, here's what's in it for you. Here's why you should care. Like, I'm calling because, I know you have this platform. Um, I'm going to be able to help you, get the most out of it and increase your efficiency, help your company save a lot of money. I'll show you how to show that to your boss. Um, make you look real good.
Yeah.
Is now a good time to talk about that? Or would it be better to schedule another time? Right.
Yeah.
I'm taking that meeting, right? Because I want to look good to my boss.
Yeah.
You talking about features, I'm not taking that meeting because I do not care. Right. So always, why should I care? It's a rude question, but it truly strikes at the heart of it. Um, And the thing is, you can't wait until you're in that situation. The trick your brain is going to play, it's going to be like, oh, I know it. I know what I'm going to say. Yeah. And you're going to get into that situation and they're going to say one thing and you're just going to go on your old talk track about what matters to you because that's your brain hijacking it and being like, we don't care what happens to them. We need our job, right? So you have to plan around it. You have to know to lead with that sentence. And if you lead with that sentence and know how it all ties together, like I don't care if you put it on a post-it note. In fact, I recommend it.
Mhm.
Um, just start with that sentence. You're already ahead of the game and just remember to keep tying it back there. People love looping back to a story. That's in our storytelling past that appeals to our brain. It,
Yeah.
and again, like people always say benefits, not features. In marketing, they say that. Because again, like as the people who work with the product, we're excited about it. We think it's cool. Um, but what's it going to do for them? Why do they want to learn one more thing? They don't necessarily. It's like if you ask them, hey, let me ask you, do you have to do XYZ manually right now? Or do you have that in another program? Oh yeah, so it's manual. Um, would you like to not have to do that anymore?
Mm.
Rather than, how long does that take you? Oh man,
Mm.
what else could you be do you have other things to do at that time? Or, like, are you just, you know, sitting on your hands the rest of the time? "Oh, you do have other things to do. Would you like me to take that off your plate for you? Free. Like, it's in there. I can show you how to use it." Right? This is so much more focused on them. And the great thing about customer success is we do tend to be people focused. We do wanna help, right?
Yeah.
And this is the way that we can actually use that in a way that is going to affect our KPIs. I know that CS has gotten very sales focused,
Yeah.
and I've been able to affect the revenue teams bring in. I've always been able to do that, but it hasn't been because I've been quote unquote selling. I've been understanding the customer's pain point and helping them fix it, showing them why this product is going to fix their problem, right? Why this product is going to make them look good. So you got to be it's better if you're killing a pain point. Um, killing a pain point or making them safer is
Yeah.
always the way to go.
I think that's gonna be my new sticky note.
Do it.
Um,
Yeah, because you'll forget. Like
yeah,
immediately you'll forget.
but I feel find really powerful this really simple sentence that you keep
Mhm.
using, which is what's in it for them.
Mhm.
Yeah, what's in it for us as CSMs can also it's also another different topic. Um, but it's also about what's in it for them, because if there's nothing for them, they're gonna hang up the call, they're gonna finish the
Mhm.
meeting, the next steps are just gonna disappear. That means maybe you need to have a follow-up call, a follow-up
Always.
email that takes your time. What's in it for them? And I think that a way that one can actually find that out, that one can find that out is by just listing the features, but instead of saying the features, change that for the value that it brings for that persona, because sometimes we work with different personas, right?
Mhm.
So that will be something I will start implementing. Like, okay, this persona is a front desk manager versus a revenue manager versus a hotel manager, but then each feature, what does it mean for them?
Mhm.
And I think that sometimes we are also scared of asking questions.
Gotta ask questions because you can decide what it means for them, but if you don't ask, you don't wanna tell something what something means for them and be wrong, because then you've lost all trust, right? We don't wanna do mind
Yeah.
reading. We can say for a lot of our other customers who are in, what did you say the role was? Um,
Front desk
Front
managers,
desk. Yeah.
revenue. Yeah.
Yeah. For for a lot of our other clients who are front desk managers, um, they have found a lot of success in using this for benefit, right? So that also plays into competition. Oh,
Mhm.
other people with this job are doing this and I'm not. Uh-oh. And they're getting a good thing. Uh-oh. Again, we've got to play into how people really think. And so many of us have put this stuff so far back in our brain, we're not really aware of it. We're just aware of the slightly icky feeling. Um, but these are all very powerful triggers that we're able to use. And I think we're using it ethically because you're genuinely trying to help someone do better at their
Mhm.
job, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
whether you're selling something or not, you should never be selling something that won't actually benefit someone. That is bad.
Right.
But selling can be helping. Being a CSM is absolutely helping. There's a reason they got this. They're just not gonna look at it logically, so you have to make them care. So again,
Yeah.
when you're trying to get them to move after that call, um, again, people get really easily overwhelmed. There's so much on their plate. Give them, like, a micro action to take,
Oh, I
right?
love that.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
what would be stupid easy that they could do to take one step forward? It's like, I'm gonna give you
Mm.
something you can do, and it will take under 5 minutes, and that will just get you started, get you moving forward, and you can go back to your life, but then we can be moving forward on result, right? Keep tying it back to
Yeah.
that result that they want. You're gonna get this thing you want here, let me dangle it. And here's this easy thing. You're gonna do the easy thing. It's not gonna be like, "All right, you're gonna have a 4-hour onboarding." Uh It's like, no.
Yeah.
Um, like easiest possible action. You want to take in onboarding, you want to keep people engaged, but you want to have them doing kind of micro actions because you can then celebrate them for doing it. You're just like,
Mhm.
hooray, you did it. And that gives a little dopamine hit. We're not recognized for the things that we do nearly enough, you know? And I don't care if it's like, well, that's their job. Why should I have to thank them? It's like,
Yeah.
well, you don't, but they're going to care a lot more and they're going to do it a lot more if you do. Like, there's a reason that if you give a dog praise when it does something, when you're trying to train a dog, you give it praise when it does the right thing, it does it more. And it's much more effective than negative training methods. I'm sorry, but we're not that different from dogs. You
That's
want to
true.
praise the behavior you want to continue to see. So with the customers, and we're all starved for it, you know? No one's telling me I did a good job for doing the dishes. And I would like a gold star, please, because I did not enjoy doing the dishes.
Yeah.
Not realistic, but then if you are that source of, hey, great, good job for you, even if it's just an automated email that's like, hey, you did that step. Great, you're going on the right track. That is going to give that little dopamine hit. And our relationship with dopamine is so screwed up because of our phones, but we're very addicted to it. And so in this way, you can kind of get them to be a little bit addicted to taking a step forward It's just gonna motivate them, not like addiction, but it's just gonna motivate them because it feels good to make progress in your product.
Yeah, let's make it easy for them. I'm so obsessed with trying to change behaviors and creating
Mhm,
habits with my customers.
mhm,
Even in myself, like there are two, we will talk about the other side as well soon, but it's like I think once we're able to create that habit of them doing that small, simple next step,
mhm.
creates that behavior into okay, if I do this minimum effort and I receive this impact, what happens if I invest a little bit more of time
Mhm.
into the rest,
Yeah.
and then everything will start moving the needle. No, I think it sounds easy. There's a lot of preparation that comes, understanding your
Yes.
customers, asking questions. And I'm currently reading an interesting book called The Atomic Habits. I just
Of
started
course, love that
recently,
book. Yeah.
right? It's a classic. I just started, and but the first part, they say habit is a routine or practice performed regularly, an automatic response to a specific situation. Wouldn't that be ideal?
Of course it would, and that's why I model, how I teach onboarding based on habit formation, because it has to be if you're gonna get someone to adopt something, that's a habit. It has to be woven into their everyday life, and you'll see as you read the book, the secrets to creating a habit are having a trigger, like, so they know something happens and they know they're supposed to do something. A trigger, then it needs to be stupid easy, right? Um,
Mhm.
and there has to be a reward. So,
Mm.
trigger,
Can you repeat that?
yeah,
Yeah.
there has to be a trigger, so something that says, like, "I have to do this now." So for me, let's say, it's a cue. So, like, when I walk in the door, the second I walk in the door, I drop and do 5 push-ups. Like, I would never, but let's say that's what the habit I wanted to build. It's like the door becomes the cue, and after I've done it a few times, that's just gonna be, like, my habit in the same way that brushing your teeth. Like, you get undressed and the next thing is you brush your teeth, you don't think about it. So but I would do the 5 push-ups or whatever, um, and then I would do something, to reward myself. Now, first of all, the endorphins and just your blood moving is gonna be rewarding, but, whether that's smiling really big because that actually gives a reward or saying like, "Hooray, I did it," or even giving a gold star sticker, on a calendar. Like, there's a reason we do reward calendars for kids. It really fricking works. It works on adults too. Now, if I wanted to make this even more effective, I'd make it 1 push-up. And if I'm on the floor there and I wanna do more, that's great, but I win if I do 1.
That's still the trigger, right? Or
Yeah.
that's still the trigger.
Well, no, the trigger is going through the door. The
Ah, okay.
habit that I'm trying to enforce the, um is the push-up, right? Is doing push-ups, but I win if I just do 1. Now, I am someone who I find, like, the activation energy difficult. So it's like, if I'm already down there, I'm probably gonna do more, you know? It takes more effort to get up than it does, to stay there and do a few more. But, I read a lot of books on habit. I read this, I read, Tiny Habits, I read, The Power of Habit. So to me, making it that's why it's atomic, that's why it's tiny. If you make it so stupid easy that you could do it on a day that you had the flu, that's what we're looking for, because we want to get rid of any resistance.
But Rachel, I think what comes to my mind with that amazing 3 steps that you shared is the trigger side. I'm still not able to understand how can I as a CSM figure out the trigger? How can I
Mhm.
impulse or recommend that trigger based on my
Yeah.
product?
The trigger might be getting an email from you. You might have to
Oh,
train them. Like, you're not necessarily gonna say, "I'm gonna habit train you now." Um
please don't.
Yeah, it's gonna be like, please don't. I'd like control over my life, thank you, you're creepy." Um, it can be getting an email from you that reminds them of what they're doing this for, right?
Mm,
You always gotta tie it back to that result. It's like, "So that we can get you to X, you need to do this next tiny step," right? Then they're gonna do it, then
uh,
they get a good job email, and they feel good. That's it. That's cue, action, result, reward.
would it be boring or would it be not good practice to actually say the words of action plan, or these are the steps we will do next. First, I will send you an email
It's
weekly.
good yeah, it's good for them
Like,
to know upfront. I wouldn't be doing it every time, but saying like, "All right, here's the plan so you know what's coming. So I'm gonna dish this out to you, very small pieces at once. You don't have to worry about this. It's just to give you an overview. So if you want, you can always see what's coming, but I'm gonna keep you on track." Right?
mhm,
And that is
mhm,
sort of part of our job if we have a one-on-one customer success motion is to keep people on track. If it's
yeah,
digital, there are ways to do that. It's a little bit less effective and you have to really know your data very well. Um, but yeah, I mean, a success plan to me is here's every step. And I work on this, most people do a customer journey, right?
yeah.
And there's no customer in the customer journey. It's just a
Ouch.
process map of what we do. That is not a customer journey. I do what I call a customer value realization map. And it's got the same stages: onboarding,
Mm,
adoption, you know, uh, goal achievement. I put that in there because it's kind of important to them. Uh, renewal, expansion, advocacy. And the renewal, expansion, advocacy, that you can shuffle them up depending on the timing. But that includes every step that we take on our end, just like a traditional customer journey, and every step the customer has to take on their end to achieve that. Because if we don't tell them that, if we don't guide them through that, they're not going to know and they're not going to do it. If we say,
mhm.
okay, so go talk to your team, implement this, they're going to be like, uh, that sounded good when I was on the phone with them, but I have no idea what to do. Right. But they don't want to say that. So that is what the customer side of that, that every step the customer has to take, that's actually the success plan. Right. So a
Yeah.
success plan is just like, here's every step you're going to take in order. I'm going to help you knock through them. And, this is kind of the timeline, but I'm going to project manage this for you. We're going to keep you on track. And each thing is going to move you closer to X goal, motivation, motivation.
Yeah. Yeah, because that also jumps on the visual side, that we're super visual human beings, right? So that jumps on the visual into this is where we are right now. This is where
Mhm,
we're gonna be
mhm.
when we actually implement this micro,
Right.
or we just break it down and to do a micro.
Right.
Because then if that's the trigger, then we want to build the habit. And when it comes to the habit, Rachel, would you recommend to increase the difficulty of the habit or always keep it as simple as possible?
That does depend. Uh, if it's in terms of adoption using the product, you can increase the difficulty over time, but it would be through very small increments. Like
And what's in it for
instead of
them?
one push up, you're going to do two for
Mhm.
2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? And again, we don't want adoption to take forever. Time to first value is incredibly important. So you have to weigh these things. You have to experiment and see what works best with people.
Yeah.
But if you're doing these little micro actions, you can tend to move a little faster than just being like, okay, so you're going to take care of this and I'm going to talk to you next Thursday and you're going to have it taken care of. And then it hits next Thursday and you're like, so did you do what you're supposed to do? And like, no, I'll get that on my calendar.
Oh my
Whereas if
God.
you'd just been like micro action, it'd be done.
That's I'm so ready to start tomorrow my day and just break everything down. I noticed that I have been working on my emails to make them concise as well, right? Less text.
So important.
And also not having more than 3 bullet points or actions. But
Mhm,
now I want to think to see if I can even do that even smaller
mhm.
to move to and see if the change on behavior and to see the impact
See
that
if you
that
can
will
give them
bring.
one action. Just
Yeah,
do
one
X
action.
and yeah. So you
But
give
it's
me
not
3
easy.
things to do.
Ah.
Yeah, give me 3 things to do. I'm like, "Go away. I don't
Yeah,
wanna do 3
exactly.
things. I already have 20 things. Don't give me 3 more."
Exactly, but one is still manageable.
Yeah.
Mm,
It's like, yeah, I can knock out one and I can feel good about it. This is why so many times we spend our time on things that are urgent but not important because we feel good crossing things off a list. It might have not have been the best thing to work on, but we feel better when we can say like, "Oh, that's off my list. My list is smaller now. I did something." Right? So you want to take advantage of that.
mhm. And when it comes to the reward, I was thinking, Rachel, that some companies they have an X amount of money that can be used for rewarding customers, like sending some cakes that can be used
I
for
don't like that.
oh, you don't like that? Why? Why?
No. Um, because it doesn't I mean, it's fine around the holidays, but I don't think it makes that big a difference. Because that's an extrinsic reward, not an intrinsic reward. It's a reward outside. Maybe they don't even like cake. Maybe they're on a diet, you know?
Yeah.
You don't know. You can't decide that that's what works for them, and it's also not necessarily timely. I mean, sure, when they hit their big goal, by all means, like, you can send something, but I don't think it's the best use of people's money, especially if you're sending swag. Like, "Congratulations, here's some advertisement for us." It's like, nice
So
try."
maybe asking, like providing three options for them to choose one, which will be the best one for them.
No, I don't think you need stuff. We all have enough stuff.
Mm,
Um I really do tend to prefer, like, visual affirmation here,
mm,
like, in-app, uh, seeing them, like, move up on, like, a what's it called? Something that they can measure, but, like, moving up steps towards the top of an arrow, um,
um,
and kind of animating that, but it's just like, "You've gone another step, great job," and just that
yeah.
validation, that's all they need. Because no
Mm,
one else is saying good job. You don't want to send a separate email every time being like, hooray. Maybe you can do that the first time. But, doing that little glitter pop, whatever, it seems cheesy, but it's effective.
I like the
Um,
idea of the
but just
in-app
that, yeah,
notifications.
just that confirmation, like, yes, you're on the right track. You did it. Here's what's next. I know you can do it. You're getting closer to X.
Mhm. Also micro then.
Hmm?
Also micro rewards or mini rewards instead of
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I really do that mainly through praise. Like, you could teach a dog with bacon, but then you're always going to have bacon. If you teach it with praise and like, hey, you did a great job, look at you, you don't always have to have bacon.
Mm, my mind is exploding right now. If you pay attention, you will hear it. Rachel, if we move to the customer success side, us
Mm,
as individual and human beings as well, we always focus a lot on the customers and we sometimes forget ourselves.
mm.
Which is that psychological behavior you see barrier that you see on us, and how can we fix that?
You know,
There,
I focus so much on CS leaders, and I know the barriers there so much in terms of like proving our worth, trying to get the C-suite to understand the point of us and that we're valuable and that we're not moving too slowly and that we're not just the happiness department or a failed sales department. Um, that's something where you're working against so many cognitive biases. Um, the first one, and this is important to understand anywhere in CS, but it's something called hyperbolic discounting. You don't have to remember that word, but that's what it is.
can you repeat it?
Um, hyperbolic,
Hyperbolic.
like hyperbolic, yeah, hyperbolic discounting. And basically it says the further away a reward is, the less we value it.
What do you
So,
mean?
all right, let's say I will give you $50 right now or 100 in 2 weeks.
I would prefer that now.
See? Right? Now, a computer is going to take the $100 because a computer is operating on numbers and logic. We're operating on, I don't know that I trust you that much. A bird in the hand is better, right? And it's not that we're wrong, but you see how you're making that decision emotionally and not logically,
Yeah.
right? Um, so that the other thing I do to show that is, all right, I will give you $100 right now, but in 6 months, I'm gonna take away 50. Are you still game?
Mhm.
Or no, I'll give you $100 in 2 weeks, but in 6 weeks, I'm gonna take away, 50.
I will still. I mean, I prefer the quickest, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But the interesting thing is, like, I could even say, "I'm gonna give you $100 right now, but in a year and a half, I'm gonna take away 150." Would you do that?
I don't think so.
Right, but do you have a credit card?
No, I
Oh,
don't.
okay. But most people do, and
Yeah.
that's exactly what those do. It's like, do you have student loans? That's exactly what those do. And But meanwhile, most people are not maxing out their 401k, which is going to do the opposite of that.
Yeah.
It takes away a little money now, but it gives you compound interest, right? CS is the 401k that gives you compound interest, that is for long-term stability and growth. That is boring to us. We want the money now.
Mhm.
So you see why the C-suite feels that way. It's like, yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know if I'm going to be in business in 3 months. Like, we need money now. You're all very cute. And yes, at some point that would be important, but like sell them something now, not realizing that by pushing something at the wrong moment, we might lose the customer overall. So you might
Mhm.
get like a $3,000 upgrade and lose a $30,000 account, at the end of the year. So
Cor-
it's that misconception. The one
mm.
thing we can do to counteract that is loss aversion. Now, loss aversion is the most powerful cognitive bias there is. And when I'm talking about cognitive biases, these are just like little illogical glitches our brain makes because it's processing so much information. They're predictable, illogical glitches. Um, Loss aversion is the biggest motivator because people do not want to lose what they already have. They hate losing what they already have much more than they love getting something new. Right?
Mhm.
Because, like, you're counting on that. It feels like your safety matters. Let's say, you found, $1,000 walking down the street. It's in an envelope, it's not labeled. It You really can't find you've got $1,000. Like, that's cool, that's exciting, right?
Yeah.
Let's say somehow you lost $1,000. I'm gonna bet you're a lot more upset, like, that you weren't expecting. I'm gonna bet that you're a lot more upset that you lost $1,000 than you were excited by finding it.
Mhm.
Because
And
it's like, "Oh, cool, here's what I can do with that." But if you're like, "No, no, I was gonna use that for my car payment," you had plans for it. So,
exactly.
if you start talking about renewals, um, in a way of, "Here's what you'd be losing," that's much more effective than, "Here's what you get." Right? So when you're talking about
Oh.
renewals, right, to a customer, and I'm saying this is again customer focused, but if you're talking to renewals and somebody, seems like they're on the fence, it's like, all right, just, because you wouldn't want to lose XYZ, you worked this hard to implement it, it took this long. Like if people have spent time on it, it's already in their systems, it's going to be a pain in the ass, but they're going to lose access to things
Mhm.
that they currently have. Their life's going to become harder. People don't like that. They don't.
Yeah.
So that can really trigger someone valuing it, your product more. And just vice versa, with the C-suite, we can show them like that's fine, but here's what you're going to lose. And the more you can tie that to revenue, and saying like, this is on average what we see when you switch to just pushing upsells and not focusing on renewals as much and like assuming they're going to happen. This is the money you lose, and it is a lot more than the money you gain from
Yeah.
pushing upsells on clients that aren't ready. So like maybe we need a readiness index or something like that. But all of a sudden, a big chart with some red on it, with a lot of red on it, showing a dollar amount, and you're not gonna know the exact number, but you can make if you can guess it 75, 80%, that's all you need to do. It's a projection. It's not, you're not a wizard. But say like, "Look, this is the real risk. This is how much you're going to lose,"
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
we can't like, we already got those people. It took a long time to get them. We spent money to get them. Um, they don't wanna lose customers. They don't wanna lose recurring revenue. All of a sudden, CS matters a little bit more.
I will start change framing differently instead of showing the gain to show
Mhm.
a little bit more the loss. So as per what I hear, that's something a really simple strategy that we can also start implementing. And there is so much to unwrap on the customer success side of things and the triggers and the barriers that we have as well because we are humans of course and we are in the
Yeah.
human to human industry, but unfortunately time is against us, so maybe we have to record something in the future. I don't know, we will see. It depends on what people are wants and also needs, but for right now I think that we have a lot of really important tactical steps that we can start doing as of tomorrow, not only framing from the gain to the loss, but also doing that micro habits, or they from going from the trigger to the habit to the reward, which you broke down amazingly. I just have one more question, and where can people find you? And I'm really curious as well, how you help leaders with your Customer Success Leadership Academy program.
Well, thank you so much for asking. You can definitely find me on provansuccess.com. It's just like my last name, Provan, and success. Little pun there. I am on LinkedIn, but they love to hide my stuff lately. So my website
Oh,
tends to be the better place to find me. You can always email me at rachel@provansuccess.com. And what the CS Leadership Academy does is it helps new or struggling CS leaders learn to manage their time, prioritize, learn exactly how to build and scale a revenue generating CS department from the ground up.
cool.
So no matter where you are in the process, you always know the exact next step to take and what you can wait, what you can put in a parking lot that you're maybe not ready for. Because too many CS leaders are trying to do everything at once. And if you build 5 bridges at the same time, you're never going to get anywhere versus building one bridge at one time to get to the other side. So it teaches that. It teaches cross-functional communication because you see all of this is about communication.
Sure.
Uh, that kind of communication, um, including the C-suite and other departments, um, team leadership, really human first team leadership, how to motivate a team and get them to be high performing based on their own like motivations and wanting to do it rather than you're having to remind them or be the bottleneck. And finally, we focus on mindset because your confidence and who you are is going to make all the difference in whether people listen to you. Um, so we do that. And I do also have another thing where I help experienced CSMs and CS leaders find jobs. That is
Oh,
still working very well, even in this economy. So you can get in touch with me for either of those. We don't help people who have just transitioned in or those who are trying to transition, but we handle anyone who's had like a few years or more, as well
yeah.
as leadership.
I know why you have a podcast, Rachel. You keep calling out communication, storytelling, finding
Yeah,
job, confidence. There's just so much that we can do. And that's what I really love about customer success. That it's just not about only adoption, reducing churn renewals, but it's just so much
it's
behind.
so rich. Yeah.
It's rich, it's super rich. But well, anyone that you're interested and curious to what Rachel is doing and what her program provides, please go into today's description. You will have all the links there. Go and check it out. It might not be for you. It might also be for you. If you don't check it out, you will not know. Rachel, thank you so much for your time and all of your insights.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
And everyone out there, remember, keep learning, keep growing, and let's keep improving the world of customer success. Until next time.